crossing over set locations. That usually happens quite a bit because the set lines of the communication, the computer does understand the recognition of timelines or anything through core line setting, which is very high-rise communication of emotional setting. See, a computer has an emotional setting, but it's electrical. You understand the electrical system, position, location, direction is you understand the channel operator stream locations, right? So back in division line setting, I'll wait till everybody comes back in location. We see this equation. Okay. Understanding the 5 line settings into your down core set rotations. Okay. This is sustainable and set lines, okay, in your crop circle location settings. Okay. Everything that General does is the communications to all levels of U through GOD. The recognition communication set locations is all levels of channel operator streamlines. This opens all levels of channel operator stream locations, guys. You have to recognize these communications, right? Understand the platitudes, the rotation cycles, the spin cycles, high center interference, high track line centers, flywheel communication setting. You have a flywheel line setting and a point line connections. I'm just showing you because you have your test coming up. Okay, so there's a 4-line wheel, right? Fluctuation line position into a half pipe calculation setting in position of 6, 6 position location of 7, 7 position of 8, 8 equals 6, 6 equals 7. Now the 8-line center sets position locations into a flywheel set location, changes line direction. As it changes line direction, the 6 comes into, you guess, all line center locations, which is your communication, your throat line setting. That sets a rotation interference, sets a wash line setting in communication. Throw pattern communication interference. Graph line center is 7 in positions to your box of your theta set location. Okay? So the recognition communication is to understand how to use line connections when you come into more set lines. When you come into more line position locations, you have to really understand how to use the galaxies, because galaxies are all connected inside location, guys. It recognizes all communication in your timeline sequence. It's a beautiful thing when you understand the recognition of timelines. It's all position location of track lines. You got 3 lines, 4 lines in set locations. So you got reverberation channels and rotation setting interference in set location. So you got a crop circle here line setting. You got a crop circle here. You got a crop circle here, crop circle here, crop circle here, crop circle here in location. Okay. Understanding the recognition line setting is laser direction location to everything through center operation streamlines. It position location of its direction to center all levels of operation. Okay. Now this is calculated to this is a united line setting into opposite locations, into a form line setting in operation cyclone in set locations. So this is position locations to a cluster line in rotations, equal line conditions of a galaxy setting in position of an X line 1. So this is this. There's all different kinds of interpretation units. Remember, it's all identification sets. So understand how to set up crop circle locations in different line interference, sets line center line interference location calculation streamlines, setting line position, all levels in operation cyclones, position of channel operation stream location of wire settings. Okay. Setting correlation line interference, so 2 UFO line setting rotations. See the center communication? As the center comes in line center interference, it scans its set locations right away in set line settings, sets up a graph screen in set location, right? Walkway, surface, and channel operator streamlines in positions, okay? Recognition line interference, you got a half pipe 6 sets line in direction opposite cycles in set locations, so higher channels of operator stream locations, okay? Measuring communication crisscrossing line connections. You have to really understand how we're going to create the water bridge and the fire bridge set locations in the cross signals. Okay? So recognizing line rotation interference, setting panels of correlation settings, is really understand how to get in ground control. Yeah, ground control. Zero gravity line settings, zero position locations. Now you got 36 channels, 36 locations of 48. Okay, which position location there is a review, which is calculated to its value, and set locations to its test setting. Okay, that's how it's set up. 36 to 48. So again, a UFO comes in line setting, scans position. All level settings, scans, 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 scans. It scans everything in location, making sure you know exactly what you're doing through number segregation of patterns. Correlation interference sets lines in 36 position sets, 3 over line setting, 6 in position locations into 4 line setting in position location to all levels. Now, when you get into core line interference of 8 line connections, you have a total pole in position location. Right? Now, the total pole sets line position location of 3, sets communication in the new center operation line position location of travel. Setting correlation line center of 6 sets position locations to all levels in positions to its center calculation. Rotation spin cycle sets of 4 generation streamlines, so that's a kaleidoscope line in rotations, solar generation streamlines in high communication setting. Rotation spin cycles comes in 8 line of infinity cycle, setting communications to rotation setting in direct location. All right. So really understand that the number sequence locations, the GOD set, ecolocations to everything, everything to all position locations is numbers, and set locations of letters into shapes and symbols. Ecolocations is harmonics, location settings. Harmonics comes into sounds, locations into all of it wavings. Waving sets line position locations all over the system into triangulations, into box position locations to its line position to its equation location. So, recognizing line setting and high line interference, letters, numbers, shapes, symbols, all correlation system to all levels position locations of GOD, guys. Right? Gypsy? All right. So, now you understand why it's so important. You understand the 9 lines. 9 is an energy wash, right? That's what you're creating, right? That's a 9. That's an energy wash, right? So, correlation system and position location are the 3 panels of operation cycles, right? So, 9 sets line over here. In equal locations, equal line conditions of 12. 9 equals 12. So the 12 center line communications opens up graph line streams, goes in the opposite direction locations. Right? So it sets up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 central lines, equal locations of half pipe, which is 6 line streams. Okay? Half pipe. Okay? Now understand that pipe is to understand the point of view of why you're doing these things in the first place, locations. All right, so the pipe comes in position locations all over the stream setting to its sixth location. Now, once you understand what 9 is, you understand the energy wash, rainbow wash calculated streamline, it basically changes your line communications in your solar line settings in the recognition locations of panel operators and string locations in your chakra location settings into the process of calculations to your DNA setting location. All right. So understanding fast recognition of timelines is to understand position locations of 4 generation lights, 6 position locations into 7, 7 positions, 8, 8 positions, 8 positions, 8 positions. That's box line position locations, equal line conditions of factor. Okay. Okay. Now this is where you go underscore plus in position of 2 bracket location settings. Okay? The center calculation interference is 2 8 settings. All right, so you got 8 positions, another 8 positions into flux capacitor, 2 panels and operation cyclones. Okay? Setting choppers in set line position locations sets up at position locations. So it's line position locations, all levels, into all set locations in high setting locations, in high junction light settings, in all line and rotations in position locations, to a set line in a rotation, to a calculation streamlines, to a helicopter. So really recognize the communication of how you set lines, string lines. A rotation spin cycle sets location of higher division location of channel operation to a planet setting that rotates its spin cycle to its moon line of its half pipe location. The recognition set lines is to understand how to use program settings. Now, program location, program equal line, center line position locations, All levels of channel operations, 3 zeros, 3 set line conditions, 3 zero line positions, 3 zeros on the bottom locations, right? So you get 3 at the top and position line setting. So 3 line setting comes into velocity, set position, into position location to volume, okay, and set position, okay. So you got velocity, volume, and you got acceleration setting, acceleration locations, center its communication of alpha line setting, into its delta, into its theta, into its beta calculation stream set. Okay, the correlation panel sets division line setting. Now, it's set in a half pipe correlation system, sets 9 division line settings to a new energy graph stream in position location of calculation setting. Okay, recognizing communication streams is extremely important. Crossing signals into position line settings, half pipe, quarter pipe, 2-second line streams and position locations, 4 quarters and set lines and set locations of 44 channels operation to another graph line setting to all position location of solar set location settings. Recognizing communication is all levels of channel operation stream locations, right? So this is where you have to really get into formation locations, how to send these things, all communication, right? So you start with a circle. You start with 9. 9 is all line setting, okay, in position, right? You got a solar line setting, okay? You got a ground setting, okay? You got a space setting. Very simple to understand these things. You got communication. You got the agelics in the center calculation, okay? You got portal calculations and 2 line settings and position locations into your Fibonacci. Now, once you send that rotation, it comes into a box location, which is your theta setting rotation. Okay. So as you come in a correlation setting, you're sending out 12 line streams into position. Okay, travel and communications. Now you can set lines and go this way, the opposite direct locations, into a half pipe and 6 lines of 12 line D&E track locations. Okay, the opposite directions. But the opposite direction locations is equal line condition of 6 in position location lines of 5 and position locations of 4. So you got 4 in line setting, 5 in division locations, 6 in rotations to throw pattern, and 9 in line interference of new energy graph interference in a program locations to its filter calculation streamlines into its project locations of its archive in communication system to a new program setting in operation location. Okay? So they're just files of information. That's all it is. You have to recognize the communications from 0 to all positions to 12 locations. You guys have to come to here. Anything above line setting, you're in position of the higher self line. Higher self is communication in set locations, waking up. Yoo-hoo. Waking up for the first time. So that comes in position to higher line communications into 14 channels. So that's 1 grounds, avenue, solar generation streamlines, and 3 set locations into all set location into Orion's belt. So you have to recognize the communications of what you're doing, right? So number sequence locations of patterns is tracing how to use all lines of view. It's very powerful when you guys get into web weaving, web coding, code after streamlines, allocate position locations, kaleidoscope line centers, operation cycles, high generation streamlines, allocate position of timelines. If you get a bracket line setting of 0 location in 1 set line, okay, equal line conditions in position of 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 4 line setting. You have to put the 4 above location, but you have to bracket the 3 setting because it's its area code. Area code line setting, right? Area equals line position locations of code setting. Code comes in position locations, all levels of travel line settings. Let's say it's in 7 line equal locations of digits, and digit position locations in position of program, and set locations into your PCU location. Okay? And again, UFO comes in and scans everything. Making sure that you know what you're doing through all position locations, all travel line settings, all communication with digital platforms, and what you're doing through program locations into your computer operation streamlines of calculation. Okay. Understand that communication sets up a sonar line setting in 3 waves site locations. All right. So it's getting really complicated now, right? You have to understand the importance of what it is because your higher self is waking up for the very first time through activation. So when you get into 13, 13 overcrosses set lines. So 13 comes in position locations. Systematic line consists of 24. 24 equal locations of 3 0-line sets. 3 0-line sets in position locations of 3 waving panels and set locations into a triangle line setting position into 6, 7, 8, 9 position of 12 location. Okay? Now, once you get in 12 line, the 12 rotates at 6. 6 equals 12. 12 equals locations of 12. 12 equals locations of 12. Inset locations into 36 field line settings. Okay? The rotation spin cycle is all at position locations, so the line center location is already in its half pipe. It's set location, right? Which is very powerful. So the 6th line comes into all communication from its moon setting. See the moon? That's how you set up the moon setting locations all through structure. Setting communication interference is recognizing your position, location, your program set locations. So you got 3 line settings, you box of 3. You box a 6 line interference. Now you can have a separation gap, or you can have a escape line valve. Now escape line valve is a correlation system to a formation, location, and navigation sighting. The sighting systematically changes position location program. This opens all communication to its program interference. This resets position locations, how you set line center and interference locations and position location directions into all channels of operator string location. Right? So, you really have to understand the 0 gravity to 12 line setting. Okay? So, once you're set to 12, set position locations of 13, high rises line setting, into position location of 14. 14 becomes its magnetic fields, the set location. Once it reaches 14, the set line position locations comes into 15. That's 1 docile calculations, decimal line setting in position. So it comes 1.5 equal centers into 3 zeros in position location equal line conditions, a bracket the 3 line into 2 is set location of 3 sets. Okay, so that's 2 equal line conditions over pi in position of 3 under pi. Okay, so you're putting position location of positive into negative line setting. Okay, so the recognition timeline is truly saying how to use the course channels. So once you get into 0 line, you come into flux capacitor communications to all levels of higher set positions to your diamond core set. Setting correlation position of panels into your umbrella set. Setting high position locations into 1 line setting, into 5 line position locations into a flux capacitor set. Setting correlation and interference location into your pi set. Pi position locations into all levels, again, into line communications to its moon set. Recognizing communication is extremely powerful stuff, guys, when you come into your own formulas of equation, right? So the test is based on what you put down on your piece of paper. Okay, from 0 to 12. Once you get in your 12, you get in your 13 setting. Okay, 13 is correlation to a new flux capacitor to a higher self line setting. Once the higher self comes in, right away, it automatically goes through its moon setting. Once it goes in its moon setting, it automatically goes into the sun rotation, into a spectrum light communication rotation spin cycle. Spin cycle sets position locations at all levels of higher channel operator streamlines in position locations to a panel of a kaleidoscope line setting of a higher level of communication. Levels of ground setting, grounds of level setting, interference locations into a gravitational pull. Sets position location and direction. Recognizing timelines and time streams and time interference is really all level communication center interference. It's in position location directions. No, the test is not today, it's Monday. The Monday is based on your formulas and equations, right? You have to set up your own formula. This is a formula. You're going to set locations. Okay. We're going to start with this location. It's very high rise. You won't understand it because it's too complicated. But what you have to understand is how to set your lines of communication in direction. Okay? All levels of channel string lines. Okay? Setting communication in position line direction is true to stand all line setting. Okay? Okay, so moon is equal location of 6, right? Which is its set location to its half pipe. All right, recognition of timelines is set location position of point of view. Setting correlation line center is its metric system in position location equal line setting, in position location equal line interference, and your Merkaba position location north or south and east, high setting interference. Setting correlation high line interference location is all levels of U through channel equal location of operation setting. OP line center, psychosis locations in the psychological line conditioning, position location, directions. Channels operate streamlines into your temperature streamlines of a new ground operation cycle. Very complicated stuff. This is a formula, but you're traveling through it. Understanding what you're doing is understood. Remember that. Okay. I'll do another one. All right. Something simple. Zero gravity line center, 2 position. 2 equal line conditions of 1 cross setting into a half pipe setting and location. Very simple. So it's about understanding really, you can break it in 3. Let's do 3 line settings, okay? So you got 1 positions, you got 1, 2, 3. So you got 3 panels of operation, okay? Center coordinate center interference of alpha, okay, in position of box, box position location of triangle, triangle position location of other triangle, triangle position location of flux path communication. All right? There's a formula, there's the equation. All right. So this is what you have to come into, because you guys are coming into your 12 DNA line settings now, right? Once you get in your 13, you're now persons to your higher self into new flux path communication. Your higher self awakes in activation to its position of travel location for the first time. So it has to recognize the sun, has to recognize the moon setting. Okay, has to understand the lights of the sun and projection, has to understand the operation location of the moon and emotional attractive human rise locations, because the moon has a lighter side and it has a darker side of the moon setting in rotation. What it indicates is line center interference. It comes in position locations, all levels of channel opposite streamlines, and set location and center line interference. Okay, rotates its cycles and sets communication travels. So it comes in position location and directions, channeling in streamlines and rotation interference and channel rotation. Okay, that's what's going to happen when you guys operate through your higher self setting. Okay. Recognition of timelines, guys, has to really understand the higher self and what it's doing through its own travel. Okay, so once you get into that 13, at 13 comes into line communications in 1 ground setting into 14 sets. So you split the 1 in position. That's 4 channel operation of 0 settings and set locations into 2 bracket locations. Now the 1 line sets position over here, and the decimal sets position over here. Okay, and that's 4. This sets a bracket line interference. Okay, so in position locations 14 times line into 1 is 14. Okay, 14 million channels per second. Okay, of operation. Seconds comes into the minutes, into the hours, into the days. Moon sets location right here. Here's the moon traveling to position locations into seconds of calculation. Okay. Recognizing communication, you bracket the seconds line. It comes into all position locations, into your minutes, hours, and communication of your day settings and position locations. Put you in automatic line setting. Now you guys are in your 6th line settings. It's going to put you guys back into all position location calculation stream. All right. So this is a formula. This is an equation. Very complicated stuff, right? Why is it complicated? Why are you traveling through these things? Right? Because I know my recognition. I know the creation. I know its source. I know what it is through intelligence. I know what it is through consciousness. I know what it is through G-O-D. Okay? The recognition and line setting is just your basic beginnings. You have to understand how to use it in all levels of you. Your track interference has to recognize all levels of you through G-O-D setting, geometric operation of design. Generalized space-time. This is not just travel. This is all levels of G-O-D, of its own travel, of its own mechanism, of its consciousness. Right? This is a formula. This is the structure. This is the formula. Okay? Setting calculation of general, setting line interference of all line position of energy, setting line position of all neutralized communication of its energy line and rotations into its remembrance communication of its memory setting, high center and high position locations, all levels, high communications in position locations of its atom line center, position locations, and all level communication. General. Hoo-ah. Recognition line settings is always simplification to what? Genetics. Gene. Gene equals line connections, all levels of what? DNA. So there's a DNA on my shirt. That's all direct locations into indirect line setting. Ooh-ah. See how that works? Breaking these things down. Bracket, center, position, location of direction. Okay? Are you blown away yet? It's all it is. That's all it is, Tara. It's all formula. It's very easy to understand these things, right? Well, it's great that you guys are coming to communication settings, stabilizing your set lines, right? 4 to 2 light streams and set locations, all levels of view, right? All right, so coming to formula line interference, you really have to get into bracket locations. Let's go through 3 channels operation settings. Let's go into 4 channel operation circle locations. So 4 line setting and rotation. We'll start with that. Okay. So the 3 line center has position your brackets location. You set an umbrella. Okay. You need an umbrella because the umbrella sets line settings into your satellite location. Okay. So 4 channels is an operation cycle. Now 4 equal locations of 1. It's a new ground setting location into its half byte, which is 6 line location to its moon setting. 1 equals moon setting location. Okay, gets very complicated. Now you can take the 1 line setting into 2. 1 equals 2, 2 equals 4, and 4 equals 3. Okay, so 1 channel is in position, 2 channels through operation, 4 channels through stream, and 3 sets locations into all position locations into a double helix in location. Ooh-ah. There's a formula. There's an equation. And you're traveling through it. See? Everything I set up, you're traveling through. You're traveling through everything that I do. Right? It's very powerful when you get in this position, location, and directions and how these things are set up for you to understand, is to be understood. Okay? So that's what I need to see on the test. Okay? I need to see that you need to understand how to set your connections because you're going to be open through your 12 DNA and your 13 setting, which is your higher self. 14 track locations into equal line connections of 14 million sets, set locations into 14 billion, and set locations into 14 trillion, and set locations into 14 zillion, and set location. Done. There's a formula. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Recognition line setting, high line rotation, and a laser direct location is truly stand as set position location in all directions. Right? It's so easy to set up a formula. Now, if you don't want to set a bracket, you can start with this locations, right? This gets complicated. This is going to be very complicated. You won't understand it, but in position line directions, recognizing communications, all levels, panel line setting, complicated stuff, guys, complicated stuff. Center correlation setting and rotation interference. Okay, this comes in this location operation cycle. There's a formula. Hoo-ah. Recognition of what you're doing through correlation setting is to understand the power of recognition and location of formula. Okay? I did that without brackets. But I recommend you guys do your brackets first because you don't understand the frequency of its area code setting. See, area code set locations into position equal line center 7-digit locations into position all levels of 5 setting, equal location of 12 setting location. There's a formula right there. That's position locations all levels from 0 to set location near 12. So this is this, this is this, this is this, this is this. Okay? Zero line cross settings in high center interference of flux cross communication in rotation cycles in set line conditions of 0, 0, 0, 0, 0 location. Okay. 0 comes up, position locations into 0 equals panel. So the 0 line position locations into 0 line position locations into triangulation of set locations into triangular interference. So we got our correlations in position of downshift line settings and position location into Merkaba, setting correlations high center interference line position locations into your test work location, setting correlation system and solar panel calculation setting, setting position location of ground line rotations into a magnetic highway formation cyclone, setting correlations in position locations to its tunnel of its interference. See how complicated it gets? Recognition line settings in position line directions, center communication to 3 cyclones. All right, recognition setting locations going in the opposite direct locations. Set a high center and high interference position direction. Crisscross high settings. Moon sets line setting in a rotation cycle and high setting. There's the moon. See how complicated it gets? Are you having fun yet? Everything I set up locations is all levels of high setting. You have to really recognize your communication of formulas equation. The test is based on how to create a formula. Okay? How to create a formula through hologram instruction lines. So really recognize these communications, guys, because this is what you're coming into. Your activation stream is already set up. When you get into your 13 channel operation stream, you're going to have your umbrella, you're going to have your satellite settings, satellite line position of 24,000 signature line settings, line signal line interference locations in set location of 3 zeros in bracket location. Okay, that's a correlation setting into your higher self. Okay, so this is this, this is this, this is this. This is the formula, this is the structure, but it's the same. You're coming out with the same equation. Okay? So you have to recognize your body. Okay? This is position line directions. I want you guys to start off with your brackets. You have to understand your brackets first, all right? We'll get out of your brackets when you understand all position locations. You start with your brackets first, all right? Brackets come first. All right, so let's say you go through a 0 line at 3 box locations, do a setting. Okay, 3 0 line centers the box. So that's 4 channels, 3 circles equals 4 channels in position. Now, you got a 4 channel operation streamline into a flux capacitor and velocity. Okay, velocity into 2 panels of operation to a high center line interference into a positions to a half pipe calculation streamline. Half position line direction comes into 2 channels of operation, 3 line center and a position location of 6. Okay, recognition position of triangulation and 2 line settings. There's this formula. See? So it's a lot more fun if you know what you're doing. Okay? Understanding is being understood. Understanding your chakras is understanding you through formation through its equation, right? So, one more time. Bracket line settings and all position locations, all travels. Now I'm going to do a totem pole. Okay? Very powerful stuff. Start with this location. All right? Energized line centers of box locations and 2 channels opera streamlines. Okay? So we got a 0 gravity, and set locations into 2 settings. Okay? 2 settings. So you got 2 line settings on both position, right? Channel opera streamline into position locations into its pi. Redirect signals and set locations into what? Channel operation into a new ground operation cycle. Setting rotations and position locations into 3. Set in position of 3 here, set in position of 3 here, set location in your diamond core set location into 0, 0, set position location into 2 channels, in 2 channel upper streamlines and set location. See? Powerful stuff. Recognition of timelines, guys. It's all level system locations and how you set these things up, right? So the reason why I'm doing this is so you can understand of what you're coming into, okay? I just want you to really recognize these set lines. So let's set business locations. I really want you to get in your locations into your zeros because you're starting out at zero gravity anyway. You're not going to start at the grounds. You're going to start at zero. Recognize communication settings. You really understand business locations, all those type set locations. All right, you start with that location. So we got a triangulation spin. Okay. We got 3-line division in set locations into 2 channels of 4 operations, two positions operation cycles. You got clone line center interference of 2 operation cycles. You got 2-line division locations and 2 operation cycle interference. There's a formula right there. Done. It's all done. Right? So you have to recognize what you're doing. And it's all a position location to your voice and grid settings, right? One more time. Bracket locations, 1 equals locations of box. Equal location of triangle. Set location. There's a formula. That's 1. So what is a box line setting? Remember, if you want the box to travel, it's got to have its own flux capacitor. And it's got to have its position of its diamond core. Because it's going through north, it's going through east, it's going through west, and it's going through south. Okay? Now, the line center line interference. Now, you set locations into ground line interference. A triangular set is a little bit different because a triangular set's in position location to its ground setting. Okay? Because the thing is, the interlocations, the thing is, you have to understand the femininity line interference, the body is different than the male set. Okay? So the box line position location is a higher channel operation string set. And the triangle line interference has a 3 communication set and rotations to all communication set. The rotation cycle is a position locations to a round set location. All right. So that's because they have their calculations to their kids, right? When they're in that position of their trimester of 9 months of location. Setting portion settings and high line interference location is tunnel defense lines and high position location and travel location settings. Okay, rotation spin cycles and set lines in 2-3 set location. Okay, very high rise. So there's all different ways to make formula. So think of your life force is all correlated set locations of abundance. How do you get abundance location to formula line set location of its equation setting? All right, so you got 0 line interference, 1 panel communications into 1. That's a formula. 0 line position locations into 1. That's another formula. Laser, laser, laser. So point, 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 point. Okay, in position line directions into set locations. Alpha, delta, theta, set locations. Theta equals locations of energy, energy position of box, box position location of triangle, triangle sets line position of triangle, sets position location of star setting line interference, set location. That's a formula. So it's so important to recognize your numbers. And what it means to you is all levels of your 12 DNA settings, right? Again, 0 to 12. I want you to understand that because that's what you're coming into. Okay? Your 12 is your divine. Okay? Equal line connections to position line settings, to your 11s, into your 10s, into your 9s, into your 8 location. All right? 8 line setting, triangulation of 3 sets. So it's all about understanding how to use a 9. You can set a 9 to 10 in an energy wash line and rotation spin cycle on the opposite direction locations. You can set 10 position locations into your galactic family and a Y line setting into your solar system locations in set location in the diamond core setting. You can set 11 line interference to higher communication setting rotations to an umbrella, to another ether, to another rotation cycle and connection. You can set your 12 line center in position location to travel your 12 sets into levels of 13 line communications, which is your higher self location. Okay? You guys have to learn how to do these things. Okay? You always start with your zeros, right? You come in this line setting. Very complicated stuff. That's a formula. That's done. But what is it? Zero gravity, zero line, zero communication, zero interference, zero in line setting, zero in high center interference, and one location. Set, 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 set. Done. That's it. That's all it is. It's a holographic grid. You understand? So, it's powerful stuff, isn't it? Recognizing you in all ways and forms, how to use your correlation settings at all position locations to your tracker interference. It's so powerful when you come into all position locations of zero of grids. Okay, this is a grid. That's a grid. This is another grid. Okay, one more. This is another grid. Crossing signals, right? So, flux capacitor and position location to both line settings, right? So, once you open that line interference, it's very powerful. You come into two panels of correlation. Now, setting signals, you travel location settings, right? In the same directions, okay? Now, when they're setting in the same direct locations, so you got three panels of calculations. You got 3, 3, and 3, right? Set location, right? Now, three line center sets position location at 3, clocking center line interference in position of 6, in position of 9, in position location of 12, and set locations in 24 to set line in circle locations into higher levels of travel location. Okay. So recognizing grid settings, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 lines of grounds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 equals center, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 equals high. Okay, grid setting location. So you got communications line setting realms. Okay, you color them in. Okay, and when you color these in, you're coming in a correlation of hieroglyphic line settings and position location directions. So this is astrological locations into your defrag and your fragmentation stream set. Okay, gets more complicated. But complication is good, right? Because it's a complete system to truly understand how to put yourself in all levels of calculation, especially when you're going through formulas of equation, right? Formula equals equation. Okay, understanding the form, understanding the equaline, and understanding the equation locations is its fractions over pi in position locations into structure equals design. Yeah, I took the design, started to travel. It didn't want to be on the page, so it traveled really fast. It just disappeared and then reappeared. So you have to really recognize, again, it's so important because your GODs are high channeling faster now. And because your higher self is waking up for the very first time through this correlation, it's trying to understand the factors of communication setting. It's trying to understand the rotation spin cycles. It's trying to understand your flight navigation setting. It's trying to understand your Merkaba, your Tesseract, your God's communication setting, your teleportation streams, your teleportation communication streams, your telewaving cycles, the high generation streamlines, your caps, your locks, your shift, your controls, your alts, your panels, your space bars, your communication cyclones, high center interference, your weather patterns, communication, your operation cyclines, high line position locations, your number sequence location of pads, high center duration streamline, position location, calculation, high interference. It's all inside of you. Okay. So. All right. So we have a test. Okay. On Monday, okay, so formula equals equation. And I need it on paper. Okay, you have to do your structures on paper. So I need a design setting and position locations to a formula of 3 brackets 0 locations and set location. Okay, so you do brackets of zeros. Okay, you have to recognize what you're doing. 3 number sequence locations, right? So bracket, bracket, 0, 0. So correlation setting interference. Now in position line directions, you can put 2 here, 2 here, 2 here, 2 here. But what's your intention? Do you want 2 designs in high setting? Do you want 2 designs in circle location? Or do you want 2 designs in downshift line setting? Or do you want 2 line settings into the levels of east line wing and location? Okay, where do you want the 2 to go? So you can bracket center location into 2 zeros, and you can have 2 on top. So 2 is in high setting in set location. Equal line connections to its box in set location. Center calculation, center interference into flux capacitor. Set location. There it is. Done. Okay. It's exciting, right? You're finally coming into your formulas equation now because you're coming in your 12 DNA settings, right? Once you get activated through your higher self location, you'll be able to understand how to do your formulas, equation, location, your abundance. Okay? It's very complicated if you don't understand how to do these things, right? So understanding is understood. Okay? So Gypsy has an idea and set line. She set up formula, but it's the same formula. But see, the thing is, we don't live in the same formula. We're in different formulas every day. Okay? You can't be in the same waving cycle. You can't be in the same light track interference. You can't be in your higher self every single day location. You can't be in your avatar in the same signal. You can't be in your alpha center locations, position of center operation location at ground setting. You can't be in position locations into a high center interference into astral travel communication setting. You can't be in position location in the same center. You understand? Okay. So until you guys get out of your 6-day line setting, you go into 1 division, 1 clocking, 1 activation, 1 system, 1 correlation, 1 panel, 1 solar line setting, 1 ground setting, 1 magnetic high information setting. So it's all levels of flux path locations, guys. Really understand the position line directions and how it works for you in all ways and forms. So you got 36 line setting and set locations into 2 panels, right? 2 panels, 36. Simple, easy, done. Flux capacitor. You need a flux capacitor for everything locations. So you set in the 3, you need a flux capacitor. You can have it up or you can have it down. Now be cautious because you have it down, you set in the 3 to go down. Okay? So if you want 3, 3 goes up, right? So you send in your 3 to go up through flux capacitor equal locations into its equation. Okay, into its equation. Okay? So recognizing communication of numbers is to understand the record location of time sequence. So again, a 4-line setting, bracket line 1 position, equal locations of 0, equal line conditions at ground level. Okay? 3 weather pattern communication settings, 2 panels. So that's 3 lines into weather communications, into turning line interference, and set locations into an crop circle location. So it's so important that you have to really recognize breaking the numbers down in position of an algorithm, crossing signals in location and center operation. So each one is a file. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's 5 files in set locations. So you can have 1 file line centered into 1,000 pages. You can have another file into 2 million pages. You can have another file into 20 billion pages. You can have another file in 600 million pages in set location. So setting calculations of 9 setting, 9 gets an energy wash line rotation, sets up a new graph streamline setting. Okay, rotates its spin cycle in the opposite direction location. Okay. So you have to understand the correlation and how it works through all panels. Panels are position of space and position of time. The center calculation is all levels of its pi. Okay? So you get a better understanding how to use the number sequence locations of patterns because the numbers are in telepathy wave signals into energy light settings. So you got a T line setting. That's a T, but it's a line setting. You see it as a T. I see it as a line setting. T equals line setting. There's a formula. So voicing grid line centering, teleportation streamlines in position of 3. Now I'm adding 3. So flux capacitor up positions to higher level setting. So 3 is up higher. And then I set another position of systematic line connections in position of 3, in position of 3. So that's flux capacitor here and here in set locations, right? So the flux capacitor comes into the center operation because 3 comes here and 3 comes here in balanced communication, right? So it's knowing exactly where you want to put your geometric operation design. If you get a 2-channel operation, you'll get a condition of 0. 1 panel, 2 panel, 3 panel calculations. Moon sets in and cross signal. There's the moon. Sun communication over here in set location. There's the sun. Sun comes into 2 position line directions, into high center interference, in position location into Pluto in a solar generation light stream in set locations into 2, 2, 2, 2, 2. Diamond core line center in 2 locations in position line directions. Okay. If you're getting across streamline centers in position locations into levels in Pluto, you have to really get into high security because you're dealing with a very powerful planet setting, right? So I'm just showing you how you can correlate settings to your sun and your moon all through formula of equation setting, all through 0 to locations into position of 2 equals 0 in position line setting, right? Teleportation streamline. Sets of position locations, energetic ball rotation, sets communication in the opposite direction, location of 2 line settings, travel location into the sun rotation setting, interference. And there you go. Complicated stuff, right? It's a lot more fun when you just have fun with it. Don't try to understand anything or nothing's understood. Okay? So it's very powerful. We're in 52 line settings in position locations of 10 channels and 30 line interference in position locations 10 line settings and thumbs up. Recognizing the time. Recognizing your formulas. Recognizing your equations. Recognizing your 12 DNAs. You'll be totally fine. Okay? So because you guys are reaching higher levels of capacity setting, you have to really understand how to use your correlations to your settings. You have to really recognize what you're doing with your telewavings, telecommunication, teleenergy line centers, and teleportation. Okay? See that? Phone is connecting, right? So boom, boom, boom. Because your phone is just a plasma line. It's a grid. It's water. It's going very, very fast. All right, all through 0 gravity. You start with 0 gravity and you work your way up line settings, but you have to recognize each one in specific location directions because it's all in representations of you. Okay? So I'm having a lot of fun with this. You know, it's a lot more fun when you understand having fun. Is you're having fun because you understand the formula, you understand the equation. It sets its signals right there, guys. Right? So this is a flux capacitor location. That's a formula. That's an equation. Right? So this is a line signal, okay, in 2 graph stream locations into 100,000 line setting. Okay, in bracket location. There's the formula right there. Done. Right? It's simple when you understand the numbers of what they mean in all levels at equal locations into G-O-D. Okay? Everything that you can even imagine has its own design of travel. Okay? I just told you what this is. Just through general. G-E-N-E. Generic. Gene. DNA. Genetics. Okay? So, well, I'm glad you're connecting that setting. So that's bracket locations into 0, 1, and flux capacitor locations into 1, into 1, into 1. Okay? So that's 3, 1 ground settings, right? Into a triangulation. Spot line settings. Spot here, 2 atom rotation setting locations. And set locations into all fluctuation. Very complicated, but that's the formula of equation. All the 3 grand settings. See? So, lots to understand, right? It's up to you. You have to integrate your settings. You have to align center rotations. You have to set all levels of formation. You have to really get into all levels of your plateaus, really understand 0 to 12 locations, right? Your test is based on that. All right? All right, I'll see you guys on TikTok. Adios.